Good evening, folks. Welcome to another old session from the Wise Asylum. What a week! Oh my God! Big fish been casting big nets this week to try and catch all life in the mix out. Oh my God! Unbelievable! And the manipulations on this channel this week have been ridiculous. The subscriber numbers have gone up considerably, and it's hardly showing them. And in fact, it took some away today. So if you're subscribed to this channel, you need to check that they haven't knocked you off. The views, I've seen them knock over 100 views off the other day. Everything's slowed down, but you see, you've got that many options to see the stats. You can see them, take them off. You can see them do it. Very clever how they do it, I have to say. But last week's live stream, I think, has gone down very well. But my God, have they cast a big net this week to try and catch me out? Oh my golly, jeez, man. They've given me access to £3.5 million in an account. That's about that. Any normal dog would be jumping all over that, wouldn't he? £3.5 million fucking quid in an account, fully accessible. I could have transferred the lot to my account in an instant. I could have been off buying fucking cars to that lot, but it takes a little bit more than that to fucking play around with me, I'll tell you. But we've definitely hit some buttons, I'll tell you, because the big fish have been out. And my God, what a week. It's been an intense week indeed. So basically, I'm just going to expand on last week's, but this image, I want you to just look at that, okay? Because the importance of that image is profound in that the data I'm going to share with you tonight will give more input to that image as to why it's just so blatant that it doesn't matter who's out there in politics, in religion, in any form of giving you news, knowledge, whatever, they're all playing for the same game, every single one of them. Left, right, top, bottom, yeah, red, blue. They're all in it together. It's unreal. But that image is so important as we get further on into this. Got something in my eye. So I hope we've had a good week. We've had some jolly weather, I have to say, for March. I thought to myself, have I missed it? Did they announce a lockdown? But then it weren't as hot as it were when they did that last time. But there is a lot of people at this coughing bug that's been going around. Interesting though, because so many people have had it that you're not seeing masks everywhere. So if they were attempting to try it again, I think the fact that nobody were really paying attention and they were just happy to be ill may have just knocked that off the game. Now, of course, they want us to have all these ideas of what it is. Is it being sprayed? Is it coming out Amazon boxes, blah de blah. But we have to keep in mind that these so-called mass thingies, in most cases, not all of them, go hand in hand as they upgrade this frequency technology. And let's face it, folks, they are digging everywhere. Everywhere they're digging. They're putting new traffic lights up everywhere. So they're all in sync with this new system, this AI system, this new databases from your biometrics, from your face, and anything else they can get their mitts on. And they're shoving it in left, right and centre. It's ridiculous. You've got the police up and down everywhere, practising at shutting roads. Well, they can do on roads, but obstructing the highway, deliberate, for no reason whatsoever. You can see the game heating up if you're paying attention to that. Of course, most people aren't. They're watching La La Land and the script that plays out for La La Land and not seeing the game in the background, which of course is the plan. So I hope last week helped, because it did pull together a lot of the data that I've been talking about for quite a few years. I know a lot of you have got it. I know a lot of you can see the picture as it relates to the Noachide. But of course, it's a difficult one to grasp if you haven't got yourself savvy with the language of the law or the legal system, because of course, understanding that helps you to understand the doctrine as it's coming in. Because, you know, for most people, it's just no load of words. But when you know the law, the legal standing of things, you can see how it all plays into this, basically robbing your estate. And some of the data we'll go through tonight, how it's written, how it's being formed for this new system. Again, when you've got that eye through the legal terminology, you can fully understand what they're really saying. So, you know, kudos to you for allowing yourself to play in that arena, to understand that stuff, because it's going to really enhance your ability to see this new world order and what it really is before they get it in place. Oh. So we have a week now for the court case. I have to be honest, I have done everything I can in relation to touching on every point that they're pissing around with. But ultimately, this is basically, if you're looking at the end game for me, how it's helped me to formulate and understand the game properly. Basically, if this system wasn't a fraudulent system, because what they're not telling you is that you coming forward as the deceased estate, unwittingly, is their bread and butter. That's the entirety of the private corporate system. It makes its money by defrauding you. So, for instance, if the council tax bill came, or any bill, if for that matter came, and at the top it said, "Dear sir or madam, we need your agreement to act as the agent for the deceased trust, which is what they own, to balance this debt," then all would be well. But if they did that, they wouldn't be able to double dip. They wouldn't get the cash. They wouldn't get the pay. It's that simple, really. It's quite ridiculous, but that is basically the game that's going on. They need us to come in as it, so that they can shaft us and take their fees, their charges, etc., and enter the national insurance account. Clever stuff, really, but it's ridiculously not clever. And you can see then on that what the Bible is sort of talking about when it speaks of Mammon or Caesar and the way. the proper way, in accordance with how you're supposed to be existing down here. Because Mammon, in that sense, is based entirely on defrauding you by deception. And so thus you are enslaved, you might say, you're trapped in hell. And it is a sort of, what's that word I'm looking for? It is like a computer game, in essence, that you're in it. You're not originally of it, but you're in it. And you're trapped in it. And you're trapped in it because you haven't done what needs to be done to understand your predicament. And that alone is what keeps this world, not the earth, the world afloat, above the drowning in the ocean. So they're sailing on the sea and everybody else is drowning in it. And it just so simplifies and demystifies all the biblical doctrine. It demystifies the New Testament, which is basically, if you can see past the game of the original Roman Church, which was to obfuscate the real game of the man, which was to give you the freedom of it from it. It's because they've taken it over and turned it into a fantasy that they've been able to keep you trapped in it while believing you're actually following sort of the get-out clause, and you're not. And that's why secret societies come in. They'll give you that little bit more as they secure your affiliation, and therefore you're not going to become an enemy to them. So it is the great game, and it's severe. And every now and again, it gets really bloody. And obviously, we're at that point now where that's what they're about to do. By consent, even though it's ignorant consent. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, that's exactly what it is. So, a week to go. It's just... I mean, it's been well worth it. It were a year on the 7th of March. Since I started to... In fact, I did do something in February, but March is when I got that first conditional acceptance in to the CEO, which then was concealed. But it's a 4 years effort, and that has been a lot of effort, believe me. But from this standpoint now, I think it's been well worth it. It's been well worth it because I've been able to get rid of the chaff from and keep the wheat, as it were, of so much knowledge that you've got swimming around your head when you've been doing this for so long. So much of it's just not necessary, basically. It's really, really not necessary. But going through it as we've done, you can see all the tricks, all the games they play, but still there's more for you to see as to why they keep playing them tricks. What is it that's giving them that authority in their system to keep using them tricks? Then you can see where they're deflecting. You can see where they're knocking you off, forbidding you to come forward, to come through, do it correctly. It's quite ridiculous. But, of course, it's the end game that's the problem. That is where we have to really... People have to start to act with this stuff. Because if they achieve this end game, and we're all in big trouble. It doesn't matter what religion you come from, what race, no matter what. Because the game is to get rid of everybody. But basically have them do it to each other. On their own ignorance, hatred, prejudices. And lust for blood, power, money. And all that goes with that superego, as they call it. And at the height of this, you've got the uber hubris hearts up there that really do believe that they are the best things since sliced bread, because they've been handed down the knowledge that's hidden from everybody else. Well, fair enough if that floats your boat. Crack on, keep going, and let's see where it actually gets you, because I think they're going to come for a big crashing down, because I think there's something way above all that just plays this out like a harp. As I said last week, I really can't believe for a second that the overriding principles and minds that run all this shit down here actually believe in that that midrash stroke Torah nonsense, Talmudic Zohar Kabbalah or inverted Kabbalah. And because that's it, the Kabbalah's inverted, not just left or right, but top to bottom. It's no wonder the magicians for how long have got it. It always comes back to naught. It's wrong on both sides, both ways, up, down, left, right. What a mess. So somebody's pulling the strings on all this. They've got to be. It's just sad that it goes live sometimes and it gets a bit bloody, which is not the best, to be honest. But then if this is only temporary and it's not the real gig, then I suppose, like in any computer game, it doesn't matter how many times you get snotted because you're going to respawn. Maybe you're not going to respawn perhaps the way the computer games do it, but you're going to be respawned somewhere else, I'm pretty sure about that. So we'll have a little look tonight, just to expand on what we looked at last week, but it does get rather interesting, I have to say, because there's quite a... In relation to this game that they're playing, this script that they're pulling out now with King Cyrus and Noah and all this bullshit, you know, this, like I said to you before, this is what we call futurism, i.e. they've taken what's been and reprojected it again into the future, and then everybody makes it happen again. It's like, it's nothing new under the sun. It's just a repeat, a repeat, a repeat, because people don't think for themselves. And we can see we're going to enter a little bit deeper into what played out last time, because chances are the symbolism of it is probably going to be a similar kind of thing in this game as well. So, you know, you've got Jezebel's in there, Ahab, all these old characters have a reference today. So it's going to be interesting to see just how it does play out in this game of futurism, which is just basically a mimic of what's been before. And the Jesuits have always professed that. They've never read it from those that wanted to listen to study this stuff. They've always claimed it's theirs. They've always claimed it's futurism. And it's all that before. It's not new. It's not brand spanking new. And they just keep regurgitating the same script over and over again. So who's joined us? And then we'll crack on. So Benefact says, "Hi Sean and Wise Silent Team." Evening Benefactor Mark says, Mark Orford says, "Evening Sean and all, evening Mark." Lex says, "Evening Sean and all, evening Lex." Slipknot, "Alright Sean, alright everyone, alright Slipknot." Jerry says, "Evening Sean and all, the Wise Time, evening Jerry, Upward Dog, evening Sean, hope you're all well." Evening Upward. Paul Septon says, "Good evening Sean and fellow inmates, evening Paul." June says, "Good evening Sean and chat, evening June." Jane says, "Good evening Sean and chat." And all rather, evening Jane. Cos gives it the wavy hand, the tongue out, and A up, Cos. AMG, evening Sean and all the non-mutants. Evening AMG. AMG says, "Evening short ass." To Janet now. Oh, Janet's a short ass as well. Okay. Martin says, "Hello Sean and mates." Evening to you, Martin. LFX thumbs up. Jane says, "Evening beloved." Okay, how you doing, Chuck? PY Music says, "Evening all, evening Paul." MG says, "You forgot to make the bed, Jane." Oh, is she not making bed after? Oh, she's a bad one. It's them long legs of hers that she was telling us about last week, the other week. DJ from 88, "Evening Sean, not surprised on your views have been up. Last week's was a beauty, I shared everywhere. Thanks for that, DJ." Oh, they were well up, massive, and I watched them take 100 off. And that's just the point that I saw it. So, but what they've actually done is slow down showing them. But when you're inside to others, you can see them going up. And the count from the beginning of last week's, usually it goes up to whatever figure you've got. They limited it to just over 200. So, I mean, all this must have some bearing on how the channel itself moves up in the rankings, I would expect. So, well done 70 Brigade and Unit 8500, you bunch of little shitbags. I mean, what kind of freaks are they when they have to cheat all the time? It's rather sad, isn't it? I mean, it's on them. There's no to you guys. You're just sad people, really. You know what I mean? And I suppose probably excites you somewhat, you know. You're still in it, AMG, says Jane. You locked doors and booze in Morrison's. Locked doors on booze. They've locked the doors on the booze in Morrison's. What do you mean? Why? People robbing it. Mew says, hello, we're all leaving Mew. Recycling Gestapo. I showed why Salam evening recycling. No hiding or like it. Yeah, that's true. Martin says, is he with the beard laying on the floor with him in red doing press-ups? Okay, is that, what? Oh, are we talking about the fake Dalai Lama? I mean, and people go, what do you mean it's fake? It's beautiful. Well, I'll tell you what it is. The main tenets of Buddhism are you're conquering fear, and to conquer that, you've got to realise that most fear is based on attachment. So fear and attachment are the two things that you've got to transcend in Buddhism, in the current script, as it were. And so back in the 90s, I saw him flee Tibet, fear, and cry his eyeballs out, attachment. So the guy hasn't reached enlightenment. The guy's a fraud. He's always been a fraud because, of course, that position is captured just like every other. So, yeah, I don't know. It could be. It could be. Where are we there? Marty says, can you forward that 3.5 million to my bank account? Yeah, well, I had a little look into there. You know who that is? ISIS. In Syria. Now then. I've only needed to touch that fucker. Yeah, ISIS. In Syria. Okay, but the bank was in Cambodia. I checked the bank out, everything. I've checked the whole thing out. It's legit, it's real. And when I went to the bank account, there it were. I went through the bank account, I could have transferred it, done everything you can in any other bank account. And it's in Cambodia. Okay? So, you know, you've really got to be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen, because 3.5 million is a lot of money, isn't it? And you might have just thought, oh, I'll just buy me Merc, me AMG. If it were AMG, then bang, off you go. You're in a whole world, another world completely. But yeah. So no, I'm not sending it to you, Martin. You'd have ISIS all over your house because then you'd have joined them and been the best friend. You know what I'm saying? And if you know how this game works, it wouldn't be long before you'd served purpose and then they'd knock you off. So, no, you can't have it. All symbols will have to rise as nothing was ever settled, says Ched's one. Okay. Mew says, Sean, is that 3.5 million paycheck to cease and desist the case? I don't think it's got anything to do with the case, no. No. It'll be more to do with what we're undermining in the exposure of the bigger game. I mean, look, most people don't realise this kind of stuff. This is what they don't want people to see. And I cover a lot of it, not just about Noachide, but a lot of the things I talk about, people miss what I'm saying in a lot of cases, but that's fine. No, I don't think it has anything to do whatsoever with the court case. Not at all. Mew says they have tags as per, but new doors designed to ask for assistance to open in the future. Do you reckon that's because they're getting thieved, or are they started to put this door system in ready for biometrics? Because that's what they're doing in America, isn't it? You've got these fridges now that you have to put your finger on, and an assistant comes to help you. So maybe the beginnings. That's Morrison's, is it? I mean, it's a lot further in than people think, this game. I think where they're lacking is in the pulling in the global digital currency, in that the nations are not tallied in together. They've all got their own individual games going on, but to globalise it, they're still a way off. But it would only take a major event, i.e. war, which is, you can see these Bolshevik dicks in Europe now rallying around like hell. Conscription, yeah. So I put on Stormer's Twitter when he was talking about, and I said, yeah, well, if you're not going to pull in all those UN fucking immigrants that have been piling in for the last 5 years, pal, then I'll class it as a racist conscription. Jimmy Savile's vagina. So yeah, and I will. That'll be a court case for sure. You fucking piece of shit. Who the fucking hell are you kidding? Kind of thing. Because that's all they're after, getting the white males to get excited. Now, I notice they're all benefit cutting everywhere now, but who's getting benefit cutted? Yeah. Not going to have much choice, are you? But going up, join up the fucking fruit bats to go and fight for the Noachides. Out there in La La Land, so there are all these that have been coming in on the boats and in the planes the last 4 years. They'll get the guns, off they go, UN Nats. That's the game. That's the game. That's your Barbers, old Kazakhstan, all that, Uzbekistan, all that. That's where they're coming from. And they put Turkish Barber up. They're not Turkish. They're coming through Turkey, as Nostradamus made it clear. Everything that's coming in now is coming in via Turkey. Because Turkey used to buffer the Persian horde from Europe. And that was its job. Where are we? Jane says, they've put cameras on top of all the chilled cabinets too. I try not to use Morrison's now. Yeah, well, that's a sensible idea, isn't it? As they start doing that, stop going. Simple as, isn't it? Mew says, yes, Jane, I saw that too. Biometrics, I'd say. You can steal £100 worth without prosecution now. Well, if I had a shop and somebody tried to thieve in mine, I'd break the legs. I'm not interested whether the police say you can't do it. I say, kiss my ass. You're not doing it, it's my job. Protect your property and your flesh and blood and your family. That's the game, isn't it? That's English law, unfortunately, for them. So yeah, Sodom. So Morrison's is kicking it up, is it? Oh, there'll be Aldi next. Now I've noticed Aldi have announced another 160 stores across the UK, and Aldi was by far the worst perpetrator of everything that came out of the arsehole of Boris Johnson during the book script. I can't believe people still shop there, but then I can't believe it because people are a bit stupid. I mean, I've done quite a lot of commenting this week on certain Facebook stuff, and somebody today, what were they talking? Oh, it was a post about what happened at the beginning and how they all had to do it for the job and blah de blah. I just put one up there, quite lengthy. And one obvious fruit bat woman give it that. Yeah, but what would you do if somebody had chemo and you couldn't go in to see him unless you couldn't have an operation unless you had it? And I'm thinking, well, here we go, we've got a fruit bat. And she said, and be honest. I thought, well, I'll be fucking honest. And I just put time up. Well, that weren't good enough. Oh, you are horrible. I'm so glad I'm not your fucking mother, you heartless bastard. And I'm thinking, Jesus. So I tried to put one up earlier just saying, look, we're a million miles apart in relation to what you know and what I know. If that came about, I certainly wouldn't be taking anything off them. I'd deal with it myself. And a big part of having this in the first place is because you've been taking the happy pills. But Facebook wouldn't let me post it, so yeah, they've got the big bugs out on Life of the Mix this week, not just on the old U2, but on everything. And I don't blame U2, because this is your 77 Brigade and Unit 8200 and affiliated arsewipes that like to do this. So it's like people going about Zuckerberg. It's not fucking Zuckerberg. You know, if you live in Hackett, Globe Centre. Every town has its Intel hub. It's usually slap bang in the middle of an industrial estate. Slap bang in the middle of a university. Because universities today, all these new builds are basically Intel hubs surrounded by a university to give it its cover. They've had everybody move out of the towns onto these industrial estates to cover the Intel hub, military industrial hub, by the way, to give it its cover. That's how it's working. And this is why the first to go there were all your Masonic boys and girlies. Hey, we'll come, yes, we'll pay you loads of rent. Because, of course, we're in the Brotherhood and we're not paying tax, so we don't give a shit. Yes, we'll gladly come and surround you. Because they're not the brightest, and they're all no-hides, and they don't even fucking know it. Well, they do, but they just think that they're in and they're going to be okay. That's the game. That's why they've got them all in these societies, isn't it? So, right, so let's see what I can do with this. But it is, again, it's just expanding what we already looked at last week. And so there you go. Macron addressed all Europeans to prepare for war with Russia. This was broadcast live across the continent. Europe will not accept capitulation of Ukraine to Russia under the guise of peace negotiations. Americans must decide whose side we're on. Now, you can see clearly what's happening here. This is a 3 World War strategy. In the First World War, America was separate to Europe. Now, if you go back to Sabrina Wallace, she made it clear that Tate, well, anybody that's working with Alex Jones, all these so-called truthers, are all tied in at the back end with a guy called Roger Stone, okay? And now he's a very important guy. General Flynn's tied into that as well. And there you saw Tate now as he's gone over to America. Now the left are playing on this and saying the crossbow killer watched Andrew Tate videos before the attack. So they all play the game deliberately, and so now he's put himself in a position, now he can be attacked and they can blame all sorts of stuff, so the left are giving it all right and wrong. And, you know, this Kennedy, what a tosser this week, he's backed everything that he said he didn't back just in this week. So he supports safer poisons. Now, does Donald Trump look like he has an issue with Bill Gates or that pillock from WEF? No, because they're not. They're all the same. Now, this is the Habsburg Empire of Charles V, and this is from a time in 1544. Now, this again is important because the Habsburg Empire was the Venetian party of the North original. And look, in South America, they colonised pretty much a big chunk of that. And that's very important because everybody believes the Habsburgs were a big Catholic Roman concern, but in fact, they were the original Venetian party of the North. So Habsburg see Venetians. And as you saw there in that map, Germany wasn't a part of it. France wasn't a part of it. And so all these attacks that have been going on over these centuries against Germany, against France, come directly from this Venetian Empire. So, and the Prussian side of everything is a big part of that. But you see the term Prussian, you automatically assume Germanic, when in fact they used the term Prussian after they took over Prussia. So the force itself wasn't Prussian, they just took that on, and then to history, you hear the word Prussian, you immediately think Germanic, Scandinavian, as it were, and the truth of it gets lost. And there again, you know, does Trump look like there's any animosity whatsoever to it? They're taking the piss, they're laughing the tits off. And you can guess what they're laughing at, of course you. That's a belly laugh. So whatever was said there was at our expense, let's be honest about it. So Germany, France, Portugal, big chunks of Italy even, were not a part of this Venetian system. And it's important, but South America, you've got Chile, and you've got Central America there, all a part of the original Venetian party of the North. Now the Habsburgs were sort of demolished in order to make way for the new Venetian party of the North, which is the bunch we've got today. And I said to you last week, and I've said this a while, the Venetians actually were the ones that did a deal with Genghis Khan to stop him coming in any further into Europe. And through that, they dismantled Byzantium, so that one half of Rome dismantled, pulled in the Persian, Turkic, Mongol system, called it a caliphate, and then the Venetians became the moneylenders to the European monarchs, and they basically took over Europe that way. So their kickback was to become the overlords of Europe, then on into America. But of course, in between that, they had the Reformation, and you know the Reformers built the America, the 13 colonies, etc. And then, of course, Civil War, in came the Holy See again, took it over. like they basically did the Venetians in the Civil War on England. So we've gone through all that. We don't need to go through it again, but just for those that are coming to it cold, we've covered all this stuff in these live streams over the years and in the videos that I've done. So we're not just coming off this cold. You might be, but we're all pretty solid in this kind of stuff. It's second nature. So that's important as well in relation to just to see how all the attacks on France, on Germany, basically have been coming from this Venetian side, even through the Habsburgs, of course, who were very involved in the fake-up to start the First World War. But what I was saying when I was looking at them pictures is this: if you think of America's position in the first two world wars, Europe got stuck in, always waiting for America to come into its rescue. Now, in the First World War, they waited till 1918, just enough time to make sure the majority of males in Europe had been killed and that all the Russian Bolsheviks, who had been pouring in since the 1860s, here and in America, could basically take over the existing secret society systems, i.e. Freemasonry on England, and of course Freemasonry over there in the Americas. And that was the kicker, that basically everything seemed to be as it was, but in fact all these Noachides who took over the lodges, became the Grand Masters, and you just need to look at Edward VII for that and what he was playing at in Kitchener to get a feel for that. I mean, Edward VII, even though he wasn't on the throne for long, has always been classed as being the grand architect of the First World War. But they were all in it together, they all loved it. I've studied a lot about Rasputin in the past. One book in particular that I read that seemed to be different than the rest. You got quite a deeper insight into who we were, but more importantly, a lot of things that were going on around there. And the Tsar actually couldn't get into that war quick enough. He was loving it, he couldn't wait, because it was just like a sport to them. So they were all the monarchs of the time, with the exception of Kaiser Bill, who at the end of the war had realised that Germany had been completely set up. But obviously it was too late then. But always, the way it works is Europe kick off, start to get annihilated because they're pretty fucking useless at war, let's be honest, aren't they? Except for the Poles are pretty good at it. But the Poles who were Bolshevized many, many moons ago. The Slavs are always hard at it, but now we've had them annihilated in the Yugoslav war. And then you had Blighty, but you know, Blighty after the First World War was nothing like it was during what you would class as the Imperial days. So even Blighty couldn't come to the rescue of Europe in the Second World War. So the way they position it is America's just out there going, I might do, we might not, fuck off, no, well, this, that, blah. And you can see now with what's just happened with the trumpet. It's Trump and Russia, and it's set the scene now. Europe, you're on your own. Trump's over there going, well, I'm not playing you anymore because you're not playing my game anymore, blah, 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 fucking blah. And so now America has been positioned in the same game. They want Europe to get cracking off against fucking Russia, a superpower, backed by the hordes at the back of it, and also China. Europe's not going to stand a fucking chance, especially now that there's more immigrants in fucking France than there are French. There's more immigrants here on Blighty than there are English. Let's be honest, and a lot of the English that are left, I wouldn't class them as English anymore. They're them funny rainbow people, aren't they? Let's be honest. But there's a major push now, and I can see it coming for conscription, but it's to conscript the white males. So the benefit game's going on now. They're going to start squeezing the white males, white families, eat that little bit more, just to make sure they're the only option on the table. And remember these. So don't let them get away with it. If they're starting to talk conscription, you want to make sure that everybody that's here is conscripted. Fuck your religious fucking, we don't want to do it because we're religious. That doesn't carry. You're here, you want to be a citizen, then that's the game. But more importantly, keep your eyes on all these tossers that are in all these hotels. The guys that have been pouring in the airplanes every day, never mind the little boats. The big boys working for the UN, coming out of Turkey, coming out of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all controlled by Russia, but have been offered up to the UN as the peacekeeping forces. Now, of course, the way it's going, they want all our soldiers out. Most of them are out there in Europe anyway, and have been for the duration of this Russian special operation, so-called. So there's the trick. Now, you've got to look at this game as it is. You see, these Mongols, these yellow race that's running all this, they are operating exactly to the art of war. If you've studied the art of war, then maybe I can prompt you to think, okay, yeah, he's right. Everything they're doing is to the letter, in accordance with the art of war. Now, the biggest part of the art of war is to fight without fighting. And what they've been doing for the last, since the Civil War, well, let's say since the Empire ended. So after the Napoleonic Wars, maybe a bit further on than that. After India got its independence from the government, and then it became just a puppet of the secret society network, they've been demoralising this nation, demoralising Europe. They've slowly been weakening the finance, weakening the industry, weakening the manufacturing. And then since the launch of the happy pills and happy shots, weakening the population. And all you green freakbacks out there, you know, this... So I put some up, I think, on the Facebook the other day, a guy who were one of the greatest and biggest shouters for climate change has turned around and said, look, these fucking wind turbines, they don't function without fossil fuel. The fossil fuel game's on at the back of them all the time. They use shitloads of cement, shitloads of steel, and 900 litres of oil, or gallons of oil, just to keep them going. And they don't produce any electricity hardly. So you can see that they've now put all this up and going to everybody, this is going to sort you out for your electricity. But obviously it's not. And in that background, they've knocked down the power stations, they've not been building any nuclear power stations. So at some point, that energy is going to switch off. All our tech is completely and utterly backdoored by Israel, or the companies in Israel. That's no secret. So all our technology, it's your grid, it's your social system, it's your banking system, it's going to switch off. You've got all these Specsaver kind of outlets fucking your eyes up. And then, of course, you've got all this bug script stuff, this medical. Because I think people need to, you need to take a look at stock of yourself out there, Mr. White Hunky, Englishman. You're a fucking drug addict. And the only reason you've never seen it is because you equate drug addict to people on the street shooting up street heroin, taking ecstasy, taking cocaine, cannabis, which isn't even a fucking drug, it's an herb. You know, it's your ignorance of the reality and facts of the matter that keep you in this nonsense. But the basic problem is now in the West, you're all drug addicts. And they've weakened you. They've weakened your body, your mind, your spirit, your soul. And you've passed it on to your offspring. And that's the art of war. Weaken your enemy to its worst capacity before you attack. And the next phase they need is to get the white males out. Because I know the white males, okay, we're all like, everybody's blah, 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 but it wouldn't take 2 minutes for them to turn into the mode they want. And they know that. And they're frightened of that. Which is why they then need to get rid. They're not frightening you females, especially now you've got shitloads of foreskins in your lips, big fat asses. You know what I'm saying? They're not scared of you. Even though you're tough and you want to be boys and men and all that malarkey, they're not scared of you. They are still scared of the white male, which is why this next phase is about weakening it again. And people need to see this, that this is what's happening. It's the coward's way, but it's not. It's actually complying with the art of war. To perfection. And all these soldiers, you don't know you're asking me fucking elbow, son. Let's be honest. You don't know shit. You just, you know how to do what you're told. Shoot a gun. Bob up and down a bit. A few hand signs. You can do a bit of running. You can bivvy yourself out. But that's not war, is it? That's just, you're a tool for war. You've got to understand what war is, how it plays out, and basically the structure of it, how it gets set up. To see what I'm telling you. But that's where we're at. And we're a long way down the line. But we do have the opportunity to stop this in its tracks. They now need the white males gone before they dare release this aggression. So when you know that, you're an idiot if you then give them that, aren't you? You're not a warrior, you're not a soldier, you're a dick. It's as simple as that. So, you know, if you're getting out there, well, I'm going to go and fight the Russians, you're a dick. You're a complete dick. The Russians aren't the enemy out there. The enemy's in. It's in the fucking house. It's in. Get rid of white males, all these that have been coming over behind blue hats. UN. Backed by the global government. You know, people, you've got to see it. You've got to start to see the game now because it's moving quickly. It's moving very quickly. We've looked at them. Right, reminder. 1940. Before the Second World War really kicked in. Okay? Before the concentration camps kicked off. Before all the fibs began about this 6 million death when there were only 385,000 Jewish people in Europe as a whole. Before the fibs. New World Order pledged to Jews. Arthur Greenwood of British War Cabinet sends a message of assurance. Here, writing of wrongs seen, English rabbi delivers to Dr. SSY's new statement on question after war. October the 6th, 1940. Okay? So you're only a year into the war, just over. And all of a sudden, the British War Cabinet, which of course had took over Blighty before the First World War, and we're running this country, and he's still running it today, which is why the Rememberer sits up every morning and says, are we at war in Parliament? And he goes, Speaker of the House says, yes, everything's carried out under this gig. Now, the British War Cabinet were basically structured out of the Milner Group stroke Rhodes Round Table Group. So that's Rothschilds, Cecil Rhodes. Yeah, all the so-called big industrialists of the 1800s, or late 1800s, moving in to the early 20th century, who basically took over the entire British Empire. Well, they already had it anyway, but in the public, they did it. So 1940, this has been handed over. Then all of a sudden, all this shit goes on and everybody's apparently attacking Jews. Well, actually, let's get it right. They'd been handed over to them. So anything we're going on there, we're all being ordained by whomever these people are that they pledged it to, that called themselves Jews. Well, we know, don't we? These are these Asiatic, Turkic, Mongol, Persian bloodlines, directly connected to the bloodlines that came out of Genghis Khan. Venetians. I mean, the Genoans at first were against the Venetians, but they succumbed and eventually became just another arm of Genghis, which is why the Genoan Marco Polo was sat at the seat of one of Genghis Khan's sons or grandsons, I can't remember exactly. It all makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. So that's just a reminder. We've discussed that before. I do have a different one that's a bit more in depth, but I couldn't find it. Right, now, where do I want to go next? And that is... where are we? So we've looked at the... We've looked at that as well. Right. So we now need to go... We're now going to continue a little bit just on what we were discussing last week. So I'll make this bigger and then I'll move it up and down as we go so that you can actually see it as we move it. So now we're going to get into, I said to you last week, didn't I, that they're actually, just by referencing what they're referencing, do we see the garbage of it. Yeah, they keep referencing the Torah. The Torah says this, the Torah says that. The Torah is just the 5 books of Moses. And clearly all this is coming out of the Mishnah, the Midrash, all these other nonsense gigs tied into the Talmud, the Zohar, and the inverted Kabbalistic system. And it says Moses only gave the Torah and mitzvot as an inheritance to Israel. And remember, the Jews were not Israelites. As Deuteronomy 33:4 states, the Torah is the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob and to all those who desire to convert from among the other nations. As Numbers 15:15 states, the convert shall be the same as you. So there is no separation. It's not a two-tier law system when you get into this, as from the biblical perspective. It's that once you get stuck in, it's the same for everybody. Okay? However, someone who does not desire to accept Torah and mitzvot should not be forced to. So there's no question of forcing people to join this system. None whatsoever. And this is coming out of the Torah. Okay? So on the one hand, it's the same rules are for everybody, and nobody is to be forced into it. It's very important, this stuff, because they're speaking the opposite and putting in a system that's completely the opposite of this and saying this is what the Torah says. Well, clearly it doesn't. By the same regard, Moses was commanded by the Almighty to compel all the inhabitants of the world to accept the commandments given to Noah's descendants. If one does not accept those commands, he should be executed. So where does that come from? They've made that up. Yeah? There it is, in Numbers and in Deuteronomy, which is the Torah. Okay, it's one rule for everybody, and nobody should be forced. However, these guys in the Mishnah Torah, which is the Mishnah Bible, it's changed to Moses was commanded by the Almighty to compel all inhabitants, the world, not the earth, the world, to accept the commandments given to Noah's descendants. If one does not accept those commands, he should be executed. Yeah? Utter shit. Anyone who accepts upon himself the fulfillment of these 7 mitzvah and is precise in their observance is considered one of the pious among the Gentiles. And all will merit a share in the world to come. This applies only when he accepts them and fulfills them, because the Holy One, blessed be he, commandeth them in the Torah, and informed us through Moses our teacher that Noah's descendants had been commanded to fulfill them previously. However, if he fulfills them out of an intellectual conviction, he is not a resident alien. Resident alien. Again, you looked at the legal side of things. It's everywhere, is it not? In IRS, it's in everything. Resident alien, citizen, etc. But so there it says, this applies only when he accepts them and fulfills them, because the Holy One, blessed he, commanded them in the Torah. Well, actually, no, he didn't. Did he? He said, it's for everybody, and anyone who does not desire to accept Torah should not be forced to. That's what it says in there, but then they're making it up now, see? This is the Mishnah side of it. But because they put them on the same page and got up their Mishnah Torah, everybody's expected to accept that actually, no, this is in the Torah, but there it is for you. It tells you that it's not. Right? So, it's ignorance that's the problem for everybody in this game. Keep blaming the deceivers for doing what they do as natural is rather silly, really, if you think about it. Now, what happened there? Oh, I think it's... Oh, I don't know what's happened there. I think we might just have to have another look at that. Right. So it's in. It seems to have disappeared for some reason. It must be massive. Well, that's a bit weird. See, it's there now. No, it's gone. Well, that's a bit odd. Let me try that again. Oh, I think it's massive. Applying linear space, what does that mean? I think it's too big. Shit, no, that's not good. But I can read it for you. As for congregation, there shall be... I can't even read it in there. I'll tell you where I can read it. So for some reason, that is not coming in. I think it's because it's too big. It's not even moving. It must be too big. But if I just nip out here, it says, as for the congregation, there shall be one statute both for you and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. Sojourn, I think that is. It's a statute forever throughout your generations, as ye are, ye shall the stranger be before the Lord. So he's basically telling you there, this is for the priesthood, the elite, and also for those that you may class as stranger. One law, one set of laws. One law and one ordinance shall be both for you and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, okay? That's what he's saying. So when he says he spoke to Moses, that's what he said. It's for everybody, one law, not separate, not one law for them and one law for you. It's the same gig for everybody. And of course, this is what they're obfuscating and getting away with it. So I'm sorry I couldn't show you that, but I think it's just too big. So now, again, as they get obsessed with this execution thing, I thought we'd just have another look, because they do get obsessed with this execution. A noachide is executed for every type of foreign worship which a Jewish court would consider worthy of capital punishment. Notice, Jewish court, that's the Sanhedrin. And then you look at the 7th law, which is saying every nation has to put this Jewish court in place. So a noachide, which is non-Jews, so there's a law for the Jews and a law for the guy, you, everybody. And this is how they're changing it. And this is translation by Eliyahu Tuger, Mosnium Publishing, okay? So you've seen there, it's pretty clear that that's not what the Bible says, but all the shit that comes off it that speaks from this Noahide system just presents it as that's exactly what it said, all right? So there's a deception everywhere with this. However, a noachide is not executed for a type of foreign worship which a Jewish court would not deem worthy of capital punishment. So basically, he's just telling you that it's up to this Jewish court. Nevertheless, even though a noachide will not be executed for these forms of worship, he is forbidden to engage in all of them. We should not allow them to erect a monument or to plant an Asherah or to make images in the like, even though they are only for the sake of beauty. That's Christianity fuck then. That's Buddhism fuck then. That's Tibetism fucked. That's China screwed. Yeah, it's Native American screwed. South American screwed. A noachide who slays any soul, even a fetus in its mother's womb, should be executed in retribution for its death. So all you abortionists, and then you'd have had all these abortions, it's not going to fare out well for you in this. Similarly, if he slew a person who would have otherwise died in the near future, placed a person before a lion or starved a person to death, he should be executed, for through one manner or other he killed. So if you're going to get excited about this euthanasia as a family member, helping mum, dad, auntie, uncle, whoever, it's going to come and bite you down the line. Similarly, one should be executed if he killed a pursuer. So if somebody's chasing you with an axe, when he could have saved the latter's potential victim by maiming one of the pursuer's limbs. So don't shoot him to kill him, shoot his leg. These laws do not apply with regard to Jews. So if you kill somebody that's chasing you with a pickaxe or a machete and you kill him, you're fucked. But if you shoot him in leg, it's not too bad. But of course, these laws do not apply with regard to Jews. So there you can see straight away this noachide is in complete contradiction of the laws of Moses, even though they claim that they are the laws of Moses. He is liable for relations with a male, whether a minor or an adult, and with an animal, whether young or old. In the latter instance, so this is sex with animals, the noachide alone is executed and not the animal. So if you get caught being a bit naughty with one of your farm animals and you're not a Jew, you're going to get killed and the animal will get saved. Now, however, we are only commanded to kill an animal with which a Jew engaged in relations. So if you're a Jew and you're banging an animal, you're all right, the animal gets snotted because it was the animal's fault. You see? Can you see why it's dangerous? It's put up everywhere as it's just so, there's nothing to it, it's this and it's that. But then, if you allow this to be put in, this is the mentality of it. It's so infantile, I can't believe for a second this is the ruling elite's mindset. It could be, I don't know. So there you go. For you, not being a Jew, there's one set of rules, and they're disgusting. But if you're a Jew, there's another set, in direct contradiction to what we've just seen in Deuteronomy and Numbers, which are relating directly to what Noah were being told. What Moses were being told. And they're saying that this doesn't apply to Moses because Noah were way before Moses, and this is the set of laws that came about before Moses. So if that's the case, why do they have to keep pretending that these are the laws in sync with the laws of Moses? Well, because of course they have to pretend this is the Torah while they get it in to blag everybody that's not really doing the due diligence, as it were. Yeah? So there you go. Male to male, you've had it. And if you're banging animals, you're dead. Unless you're alright. Yeah? There you go. And you can't shoot anybody that's chasing you with a pickaxe, a machete. Because if you do, you'll get killed. It's not the brightest, is it? I mean, it is if you want to run the world. It's exceptionally interesting. But if you're not the one of the members that's running the world, it's pretty disastrous, to be fair. Why is this? It's done it again, that. If that shouldn't have done it, so we're having a bit of trouble here for some reason. That should come up because it's only tiny. And for some strange reason, it's not doing. Let me just try it one more time. I don't know what that does if I do that. It's not even showing up. Alright, so that just cemented, I meant to show it last week and I forgot, that the fact that it's decapitation. Execution by decapitation. Right, so that's that. Now, so where are we going now? Right. Now I know where we're going now. Okay, so we'll just start it off with this. You've all heard of Doge, haven't you, that they keep bigging up, that Elon Musk's big into, and Trump, and I said to you last week, if you actually reverse it, it's EGOD. But the Doge has an history, and we're going to look at that in a minute, but this will just preempt, as it says. So this is from 2022. China uses artificial intelligence, AI, to run courts, supreme justices, cutting judges' typical workload by more than a third and saving billions work hours. Now, seventh law is about everybody has to put these systems in. China, as we know, is the expression of this new system. It's well bedded in, it's way ahead of the game. So it's no surprise that AI is then going to be used in the judicial, or this new system that the Sanhedrin is going to be running. Yeah, so you can see that. China is improving its judicial system with artificial intelligence by suggesting legislation, creating papers and identifying seen human faults in decisions. Beijing Supreme Court stated in an update on the system issued this week per Daily Mail that judges must now formally consult the AI on every case. Judges and lawyers should provide a written justification if they decide to deviate from its suggestion. As a result of the AI's connection to police databases and Chinese Orwellian social credit system, it now can penalise individuals such as by automatically listing a thief's stolen stuff for sale online. Beijing has praised the new technology for contributing significantly to the judicial advancement of human civilization, monster civilization. Still, opponents claim artificial intelligence risks ushering in a day when machines govern the planet. So this is why I said to you last week, it's the seventh law that's rather terrifying, because it's got to have these new legal systems put in place. He said that Israel had already had extensive ties with Five Eyes. Oh, wait a minute. So this is about Israel. I think that shouldn't be in at that stage. Just let me have a look. It actually started off in Australia, this. Here we go. There we go. So this is how Israel started to break up what was the Five Eyes nations, which is UK. So it's intelligence services and that such, the five of them together. Israeli intelligence pact with Australia is a death knell for the Five Eyes alliance, and this again is in 22. So they were putting all this in while everybody was shitting themselves on the old bull script. So from that comes this piece. Okay. I don't know why these images are getting bigger and bigger. They shouldn't be doing that. Something, maybe it's a setting I need to check. Who made it? Maybe they're in the old Streamlabs. Could be. It wouldn't surprise me. Right, let's have a look. Where are we? Okay. He said that Israel already had extensive ties with Five Eyes nations, including what he dubbed as an incredibly close intelligence sharing and security partnerships with our closest ally, the United States. But he added that Israel would look to deepen the relationships. We're focused on continuing to deepen these ties through their existing frameworks and agreements, and we would consider any other options for expanding these ties should they present themselves, he said. These statements, if anything, are an obvious signal from Israel that it's ready to enhance those capacities in cooperation with Australia and later with other countries in the Indo-Pacific as well. After the AUK-US agreement, Australia, US, this is a development that can put a final death knell into the Five Eyes alliance. So everything's changing, and it's all around this AI nonsense. All of it. So that's that. Now, what else did I have here? This. So I thought we'd just remind ourselves of what this Babylon is, because of course we have a new king of Babylon in place right now. So this is basically Mesopotamia, okay? And within it we have Assyria, we have Babylon, all the usual suspects in relation to where this system were pretty much perfected and then spread across everywhere, specifically through a king called Cyrus, who emancipated the then captive Judahites, not Israelites, back into the Middle East to build the Second Temple, which was then run by the priests in this territory. It says, Iraq cradled civilization from the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. History itself was born. This is Shinar, Mesopotamia, Iraq. It was here that the Sumerians laid the foundation of the first human civilization. Writing first emerged in the form of cuneiform, and where the earliest laws, like the Code of Ur-Nama, were enacted. It was in this land and the great stories of creation and the flood were recorded for the first time. See, this is all nonsense. The birthplace of prophets such as Noah, Abraham, and Jonah. Okay, Noah and Abraham. And this is why they tie Noah and Abraham and are trying to force the laws of Moses as being a part of the laws of law, when clearly they're not. And it's the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, upon which everything is built, i.e. the Bible. So this is why I put it up. So Noah and Abraham specifically are tied to this land. But so too is King Cyrus. Iraq is a land intertwined with divine history. Cities like Babylon and Nineveh, immortalised in the three holy books, witness some of history's most profound events. Three holy books. Oh, okay. From heroes, Sargon of Akkad, the world's first emperor, and the mighty empires of Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria, making Iraq the only country to host four great civilizations. It is also home to 5 UNESCO-listed archaeological wonders: Hatra, Babylon, Ur, Samarra, and Uruk. Now, of course, that's the case after after Saddam got snotted. Each is a testament to Iraq's eternal legacy. A land of kings, prophets, and conquerors, Iraq is not just a country, it's where the story of humanity began. So they say. It's utter nonsense, really. Now, this is why they had to get rid of Saddam. Not only really wanting to have his own financial system, but he was also turning the entire landmass of Iraq into a museum. Of course, that didn't fit with the Noachide system, and the first thing they did when they got in there was take all the artefacts off and away, probably into the Smithsonian and into many of the containers around the Thames in London. So that's why I wanted to put that there. Now, what else have we got with that there? I think we've pretty much... Right, so we've finished with them. Now, we're now on to the browser. So remember, Sanhedrin letter to Trump, you have been elected to full heavenly mission. We looked at this last week. You don't need to look at it again, but I will put it up under this video again for you. Because what we asked Trump to do is create a White House faith office, okay? And it's been headed by Pastor Paula White. Now, if you look at her stuff, she's massive on Israel. She hates the UN. She hates the ICC for daring to cite Netanyahu, a war criminal, which works quite well because the plan is to get rid of the ICC and the United Nations and put this Sanhedrin gig in that they want Trump to do as a spiritual mission. The Sanhedrin letter continues, so this comes directly. So Trump set up a White House faith office, which is specifically for this. The education day set up by Reagan was the official citing of America accepting the Noachide 7 laws of Noah way back in the 80s. And this is a follow-through, okay? And this is Trump's mission according to the Sanhedrin, yeah? So, again, we went through that. They keep citing the Old Testament and completely cocking up, pretending one first man to affirm the basic equal rights of humanity. Man and human, as we know here, because we've looked at the law, we've looked at the books, is two completely different concepts. Man was given the earth and is of the Creator, the Heavenly Father, and the human is a concept created by Vatican II, which equates to monster, which is afforded rights of person, which is the trap through which this Noachide system is stealing and robbing basically your estate, right from under your nose. And again, the first cut, and so we're back there to the 7 laws of Noah. We've checked that out, we don't need to go through that again. There's Nikki Haley, honorary president of the 70 nations that they want to pull into this. And she's crazy. You've got to listen to some of her stuff first. She's proper mental. She hates the United Nations. That, you may say, is Jezebel in the symbolism of this old gig, referencing it today in the new gig. So there's your Jezebel, who's going to tear everything up to pieces and who, going into the biblical tradition, was like a demoness with all the demons coming through her, etc. A bit in the same way as the Queen of Sheba kind of thing, with Solomon and all this malarkey. They're just using, they're really, it's like it really is sort of a rehash of all that kind of stuff. Again, remember this guy, just to remind you.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand. So many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many. 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, And Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that according to the Torah do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews. Even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
So it's death to everybody, basically, which is what they say in their other works. They want the world to the self. They're not kidding. People just don't believe it. That's the problem. Well, fine. You don't believe it, you don't believe it. I'm not saying this, am I? They're saying it. Again, Mishnah Torah. I can't remember what that's talking about. Oh, we looked at that last week. We don't look at that again. Now then, you've heard this Doge, haven't you, being passed around by Elon Musk. Now, I have something else to find here as well, so I think it's back in. Just to remind you and to keep the context. Okay. The Doge. Cyrus, Balfour Trump Declaration, 1917-2017, Temple coin. Rebuilding of the Third Temple. There you've got Trump. There you've got King Cyrus, okay? Direct connection between this, Babylon, and remember, King Cyrus he didn't invade Babylon, he was invited into Babylon by the elite the new elite that had rose so that they could get rid of the old elite. Like the Chinese rulers ended up in Taiwan, you know what I'm saying? Like 1066, the kings of Britain's 260 odd ships left for Greece. This is how it works. They get enough in, and then all of a sudden there's a massive power shift, and they invite in an army like William of Orange. In they brought him in, and off they went again. It's just regime change. And King Cyrus back in his day was exactly the same perpetrator, and that's what he represented. So again, just to remind you, this is what we're dealing with. I'll make this slightly bigger. Let's have a look. So I can see that you can't really see this. Let's have a look. I mean, this is just Wikipedia. We don't have to go. Now, there you go. You've got the so-called English red flag, which, of course, was a Genovese enzyme, naval enzyme originally, okay? And originally, the Genovese did do battle with the Venetians when it was clear they sided with Genghis, but unfortunately it didn't work out. The Genovese eventually ended up becoming subservient to or joining basically the Venetians. Now, so the term Doge, which they're using all over the show, invert it, it's e-god, but it's a system, okay? And it says the Doge of Genoa was the head of state of the Republic of Genoa, a city-state, and soon afterwards a maritime republic, from 1339 until the state's extinction in 1797, and originally elected for life, After 1528, the Doges were elected for terms of 2 years. The Republic, or Dogeate, was ruled by a small group of merchant families. So it's directly connected to merchants and not anything religious kingship, okay? So this is why I say these billionaires are just billionaire apostles, fronts, rallying around this new messiah. It's this system, okay? The Genoese Doge's form of address initially was Excelso, or exalted, then Illustrissimo, most illustrious, and then Excellentissimo, most excellent, and finally Serenissimo Principe, or most serene prince. Again, princes, yeah? Important. Prince, not king. The first Doge of Genoa, Simone Boccanegra, Ligurian Simone Boccanegra, whose name is kept alive by Verdi's opera, was appointed by public acclaim in 1339. Initially, the Doge of Genoa was elected without restriction and by popular suffrage, holding office for life in the so-called perpetual Dogeate, but after the reform effected by Andrea Doria in 1528, the term of office was reduced to 2 years. At the same time, plebeians were declared ineligible, and the appointment of the Doge was entrusted to the members of the Great Council, the Grand Consigliere, who employed for this purpose a complex political system. I don't think we need to read it all. Let's just see if there's anything of interest. So there's a big list of all the Doges. Blah, de blah, off it goes. Remember, this is just Wikipedia. Giacomo Grimaldi Durazzo. Okay. Some of them Holy families, you've got them, hasn't you? Giacomo. This is where it's coming from. It's this bunch. This is what we might call the Holy See families. Merchants, bankers. They have nothing to do with religion, spirituality, or any of such nonsense. Lorenzo, Alessandro, Tommaso. It's all the same names as we've looked at when we look at the Holy See, isn't it? Same thing. So that's the original Doge from Genoa. And now we have the Doge of Venice. So I don't know which one started first. I only found these right at last minute, actually, and I thought, well, that's interesting. The following is a list of all 120 of the Doges of Venice, ordered by the dates of their reigns. My God, this goes back way before. So the Venetian Doges is way older than the Genovese, which makes sense because by 13 odd, the Genovese had been taken over by the Venetians. So these Venetians have been a separate entity to everything since at least 697. How interesting is that? For more than 1,000 years, the chief magistrate and leader of the city of Venice and later of the most serene Republic of Venice was styled the Doge, a rare but not unique Italian title derived from the Latin dux. Doges of Venice were elected for life by the city-states aristocracy. City-states, interesting. The Venetian combination of elaborate monarchic pomp and republican, though aristocratic, constitution with intricate checks and balances makes a Le Serenissima Venice a textbook example of a crowned republic. Crowned republic, King Cyrus. Doge. New Venetian Party of the North. Old Venetian Party of the North Habsburg. We can see clearly. Didn't have Germany. Didn't have France. Yeah? We're looking for cause here, Venetians in sync with Genghis Khan. What did Finkelstein say? We are from the Asiatic. We are an Asiatic race. Mother Shipton, very clear. The yellow race will try to divide the world in two. It will fail. But the war that comes leaves quite a nasty auger, which is going to be either nuclear radiation or biological or some such. Yeah, and that's Mother Shipton. But she says it fails, basically. They don't manage to do it. But so these guys are the ones controlling China, controlling Japan. Yeah, and they've got them all together on this pretense that the Judahites were Israelites. When in fact, after the captivity, they were full-born Babylonians, and the Second Temple was the same, which is why the man came to tear it apart, because it was claiming to be of the Heavenly Father in Genesis 1, or the Father of the beginnings, not of the Elohim. So that's not even Yahweh, because he's one of the Elohim. And when you translate, which we've done in an earlier stream, when you translate Genesis 1 in the Hebrew and put the Aleph instead of starting from Beth, the Father of beginnings created the Elohim. Not as the current Genesis 1 says, the Elohim created man. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense, a lie, another deception. And so again, this isn't me saying this. This is applying yourself to the doctrine, looking for the interpretations, finding the interpretations, and then putting the dots together. It's not that difficult. So the original Doge, now we can see, came out of Venice. And then we've got Paolo, Marcello, Orso, Domenico, Felice, Todetto, Jovian, John, Gallo, Domenico, Maurizio, Giovanni, Osmelerio, Agnello, Gustiano, Pietro. All they see, innit? All over it shop, this. Pietro Pradionecco, Orso, Giovanni. The Italian's getting better. It's not as good as my Chinese, but it's getting better, I have to say. And there you go. So again, I'll put this up. So when you see Muskrat and the trumpet giving it the big doge, this is what they're talking about. A new god, says Elon. And he's trying to cite it as coming out of Memphis and perhaps an Egyptian god. Is it? I'm not too sure, unless there will be a reference to it because of the slavery, perhaps. I don't know. So that I thought were interesting. Now this is interesting because it's March the 8th. So yesterday, a news coming out of Israel media reveals that Hamas is actually funded by Israel. And of course, Israel is funded by the US and everybody else because of the reparations. But is operated out of Russia. And that's what people don't really get, and that's why it keeps pushing. Bolshevism, completely funded on the orders of the inner city of London, which is Venetians, and funded from Wall Street in the US, Venetians. Yeah, there's the enemy. Venetians tied with the Mongols, Persians, Turkic tribes, the evil people. There's your Tartars, all these people. Then they're trying to make it look like, trying to get you all to get excited and claim that the old civilization based on, in my opinion, the expression of what civilization goes like if you use the New Testament, not in its current form, but the real gig that he was giving you, how it gets built. And they're trying to say, no, it came from over there where we come from. Tartaria, Kazakhstan, blah, blah, blah. So, an explosive report by Israel's Shin Bet, their internal security agency, which is similar to the US FBI, was published in the Israeli media this week, where they revealed that the Israeli government has in fact been funding Hamas long before the October the 7th, 2023 terrorist attacks. Well, I could have told you that. They set it up, trained them, and have funded them since its get-go. Netanyahu's funding for Hamas via Qatar-enabled October 7 invasion, Shin Bet reveals. While the Shin Bet, Israel security agency, took a significant amount of responsibility for the disasters on October the 7th, in its report published unexpectedly on Tuesday, it also implicated Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by implying that his policies regarding the Temple Mount, the treatment of Palestinian prisoners, and the judicial reform led to Hamas's decision to initiate its long-planned invasion. Other policies carried out under Netanyahu that the agency flagged as problematic and as contributions to Hamas' decision to invade were his facilitation of Qatari funding to Hamas and his opposition to proposed assassination operations of top Hamas leaders at the time. Qatar developed two funding pipelines to Hamas. So this big claim that it's Iran funding all this terrorism, actually, it's not. Israel intelligence has said that Qatar eventually developed two funding pipelines to Hamas. One was supervised by Israel and at least officially only went into Gaza civilian needs. However, Israel intelligence has said that another funding pipeline, especially in more recent years, circumvented Israeli oversight and went directly to Hamas. Besides the second funding pipeline, Israeli intelligence analysts have pointed out that the funding went to the civilian Gazan needs, made it easier for Hamas to spend more of its existing funds on the vast terror and military operations that the IDF was confronted with in Gaza during the war. So again, I'll put that up for you. And that came out yesterday. What have we got here? oh, that same rabbi that talks about the 6 billion guy that must die. I'll not put this on for long, but I will put it under. But this is him talking in China.
חסידי אומות העולם, the righteous goyim. How you become a righteous goy? First, you have...
We all guys, man, guy. I mean, guy. It's a disgusting thing, isn't it? Guy. We guys. So he's talking about you. He's talking about your kids, grandma, granddad, auntie, uncles.
Keep the 7 laws that Hashem told Noach after the flood 4,200 years ago. When the world had only 8 members, Noach and his wife, their 3 sons and their 3 daughters, Hashem told Noach 1 mitzvah. Where did he get the other 6? From Adam. There were 6 mitzvot before, he added ever min achai. Now it became 7. But since Hashem repeated it to Noach, we called it after the last event, not the first event. Why we don't call it the 6 laws of Adam and the 1 law of Noach? First, it makes it more complicated. Second, since Hashem repeated it to Noach, the last event is more substantial than the first one. For instance, when we have the first destruction of the temple and the second, which one count bigger destruction for us? The second, because the first was rebuilt. If we wouldn't sin again, we wouldn't have it, and we would forget that we had one-time destruction because we have the temple.
Oh yeah.
If you got your car back from the insurance, you don't remember the tragedy that you lost it. No. But if the insurance didn't pay you and now you don't have a car, every day you suffer, the last tragedy is in your mind. Same thing here. So, Chasidei Umat HaOlam, the 7 laws that Hashem told Noach, you know what the 7 laws are? You should believe in one God.
So he's pissed off because they couldn't have a temple and they can't kill 6 billion of us. It's just not fair, he says. Well, I'm sorry. It's a shame, I know. I'm sorry I couldn't oblige you there, mate, and just let you chop me head off, really. I know you tried this week. With 3.5 million, but this guy's not for fucking around, me old China. Right, now then, this is what they don't want you to even ever get to know. But Super King Cyrus were only snotted by a woman. A woman, I tell me. A bird. Queen Tomyris, who was a queen of the Saka, or Scythians. What did I show you at the beginning? Excuse me. Disgraceful. Right? Buddhism, its original form, came out of the Saka. Okay? True 100% enemies of King Cyrus and everything he represented. Okay? So much so, this is what she did. Okay? So this is why that's important. They're now claiming that Buddhism belongs to this system. No, they were uber enemies, okay? Absolute 100% enemies. So this is a collection of paintings in relative to this event. The head of Cyrus brought to Queen Tomyris. There we go. And that's a pot of blood, by the way. There's a good reason why that's about to take place. And His Majesty King Charles had this royal collection. Story comes from Herodotus and tells the attack upon the Massagetæ by Cyrus, king of the Persians. Remember, king of Persia is King Cyrus. That's what he is. Tomyris, queen of the Massagetæ, lost the first engagement of the war, during which her son was captured and subsequently took his own life. Now that's all we need to read of that one, because we're going to go and look at another one, which comes from, surprise, surprise, Kazakhstan. So this is from the Science Committee of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan, which of course we all know is where they're moving this entire new global system to. So let's see what they have to say. Tomyris, the queen of the Saka Massagatæ. Okay? I've seen better pictures of her. She looks well fit. In some of them. Tomyris, 636 VLC BC, is the legendary queen of the Saka Massagatæ. She became known due to Herodotus' writings, the history of punishment of the Achaemenid king Cyrus by Queen Tomyris, and became a symbol of justice. So she became the symbol of justice because history back then, in the time of Herodotus, King Cyrus was an arsewipe. Okay? That's what history knew. King Cyrus was a tosser, and this queen brought justice. Biography. Unfortunately, the information about the life and activities of the Massagatæ queen Tomyris is available only in the writings of Greco-Roman authors, beginning with the Scythian stories of Herodotus, which gives information about the circumstances of the war of Tomyris against Cyrus, and ending with the writings of Strabo. Paulinus Cassiodorus and Jordan, who also wrote about it. For example, Jordan, a Gothic historian, mentions Tomyris as the Queen of Gothia, in English, Tomyris, Queen of the Getae, and the founder of city of Toma, the former capital of small Scythia for several centuries. Now it is the city of Constanta in Romania. Sometimes the women were at the head of their peoples among the nomads of the Aral-Caspian region. Well, it was the same here. Queen Cartamandua was the queen of the Brigantes, which is the northern England. They were massive. It depends which map you see as to, how they pretend. But the Brigantes were by far the greatest tribe on the British Isles back in her day. And she allied with Rome for some reason. So it always baffled me. And she actually captured Caractacus and handed him over to Rome. So it's an interesting one. But back then, the queens owned the land, and they chose as their king the greatest warrior. And when that warrior was no good anymore, they knocked him off, and she married the next greatest warrior. So that's how the matriarchal system used to work. So it wasn't just out there in outer Europe. The matriarchal system is worked in that way. And we, I have said, are in a big part referencing the Scythians. We are. You might say Scythians. We've looked into it earlier to suggest the Scythians could have been the Israelites, that went off and just disappeared into there, and then were forever moved further forward by this Persian, Turkic, Mongolian horde until we actually became Europe. And we created the civilization from that. So in my opinion, that civilization that we see that they've knocked down, that they try and claim Tartarian, would be, in my opinion, coming out of the Scythian, which gave you the Buddhist teaching, it gave you Christianity. And that's been my take on history and what they're trying to hide. And now they're trying to make it look like it's all set off over there in Mongol land. Well, I don't buy it for a second. Sometimes the women were at the head of their peoples among the nomads of the Aral-Caspian region. Thus, we know the Saka ruler Zarina and Massagatæ Queen Tomyris from the chapters of history. As S.A. Yatsenko, a researcher, notes, first of all, warrior women were an element of important exotic myths for many settled peoples of antiquity. In classical art, images of Amazons were an important category of other, along with exotic barbarian giants. Now, the civilizations on Crete, again, filter into this. And I've said before from my studies, it's potential that the Minoans, which we know were on Crete and moved up further into Greece, more than likely were the original Egyptians that left as the Hyksos just started to cause havoc. Hyksos, of course, being of the Abrahamic race. Yeah, so again, there's this massive separation between Israelites and this Abrahamites, which these guys are trying to pull together because it's the Judahites trying to claim that they have always run the Israelites. I'm sorry, history doesn't pan it out that way, whichever way you look at it. It really doesn't. And if you go to the Sabbatai Zevi chronology, the chief rabbi of England, I think in about 1910, wrote a thesis saying exactly that. The Jews were never, ever Israelites. Ever. And there's no historical context to say the same. Anyway, never mind that. Right, so that's that bit. There we go. According to one of the information, okay, this is Kazakhstan, remember. Tomyris was a descendant of the Scythian leader Ichpakaya, great-granddaughter of Madia, granddaughter or daughter of the legendary king Cyprian or Spargapises. According to the history of Herodotus, the Persian king Cyrus II the Great undertook a campaign against the Massagetæ after the conquest of Babylon in 539 BC, but he was invited into that. It wasn't a conquest per se. Cyrus made a fatal campaign to the east in 530. Evidently, the situation on the eastern border required immediate measures. Cyrus the Great threw against it 200,000 soldiers along the Caspian Sea and built powerful floating bridges with battle towers. It is said in O. Zadorov's book, Legends of Ancient Kazakhstan, that the wife of the late Tsar hero Rustam was the queen of the Massagetæ. Her name was Tomyris. She was sent ambassadors by Cyrus under the pretext of relationship. However, Tomyris realised that Cyrus was not seeking her in marriage, but her kingdom, and refused him. Then Cyrus was an overt war to Massagetæ. Now, these were Scythians, whites, and what they're trying to do today is claim that these people were actually a part of this that have took them over. When you look at it, you can see that the Scythians were ever moved further and further to the east, to the north and to the west, eventually settling in Europe, and then spreading from Europe, Scandinavia. That's you can see a lot of who we are. We have a massive Egyptian tie, but we're talking the original Egyptians. They're trying to mask that now by claiming that the original Egyptians were actually black Negroids. And I'm not saying for a second there wasn't a big part of that they were, but that were Ethiopia, which was in and of itself its own empire. And then we had another empire to the west, and I can't remember his name, but he was one of the most richest kings ever, who was a very generous guy, and wherever he went, he just threw his money everywhere, not realising that actually then dismantled all the commercial systems that had been set up in a different way to his. I can't remember his name. But that's all been hidden as well. North Africa was very fertile if you look at some of the older maps. So some major catastrophe took place and just basically washed it with sand. So anyway, we're not getting into that. Further events in ancient literature are described in legendary narratives about the courage of Queen Tomyris. Thus, Herodotus, in his work History, reports that Cyrus, crossing the Arax River, arranged a trap for the Massagetæ and was able to capture Spargapises, the son of Queen Tomyris. Finding out about these events, Queen Tomyris sent a message to Cyrus. Bloodthirsty Cyrus, give me my son and leave this country with impunity. If you do not, I swear to you by the sun, as ruler of the Massagetæ, that I will give you blood to drink, even though you are insatiable. Further on, Herodotus' captive Spargapises persuaded Cyrus to take off his shackles, and when he got free, he snatched the sword from the guard and killed himself. When Queen Tomyris found out about this, she gathered a large army and marched against Cyrus. During the battle, most of the Persian army was destroyed. This battle Herodotus mentioned as the most cruel and great. According to the book of B. Zanderbekov, Saka women, Amazons, who rushed with the Queen Tomyris to the attack, deciding a battle in their favour, played a decisive role in the battles. Cyrus himself, of the Achaemenid dynasty, died in this battle. just having reigned for 28 years. Tomyris filled the bag with human blood and ordered the body of Cyrus to be found among the fallen. Having found, she plunged his head into a bag and, taking the piss out of it, said, "Although I see and defeated you in battle, but you have caused me great grief, cunning. Rob me of my son, and I will saturate you with blood, as threatened. You thirsty for blood, king of the Persians, so drink it now too." The story of the battle may have been borrowed by Herodotus from both the Achaemenid chronicles and more likely from Scythian tales. The victory of the Massagetæ Scythians and the full defeat of the Persians in showdown fight was the result of the battle. Now, that's basically the game when it came to King Cyrus in his time. And it's quite an interesting, I did actually go through quite a bit of it. There's some data in that, so I'll put that up under again. But there you are, she's basically, I won't be surprised, she pissed on him, put his head in some blood, you bloodthirsty bastard. And yeah, that's what happened to King Cyrus. And of course, this Mongol, Turkic, Persian breed are trying to claim her as one of theirs, when in fact, it's just not the case at all. But then when you take over a country, the victors create a new history, do they not? Well, it's exactly what's going on right here, right now. And unfortunately, the white race, my own race, are way behind on the gig. Which isn't good, ladies and gentlemen. It's not good at all. Is it? We need to get a grip, start getting a grip and realise that actually we have an heritage and it's got nothing to do with the puke and piss that we've had shoved down our necks for a few centuries. So, that endeth the gig. Where did we get to last time? Morrison's, that's right. Morrison's, right. Put cameras on top. Okay. Right, Martin says, when someone is proved wrong on social media, they remove their comments and don't leave it for educational purposes. Oh, mate, fair enough. Hey, Sean and chat says, Yulik, happy camper, evening all, evening happy campers. Jerry says there are Israelis and no Israelites. Exactly. It's got nothing to do with all that gig, but we've gone into that in live streams to show there is no archaeological evidence at all for the existence of the 12 tribes of Israel in the Levant. There is, however, a lot of evidence and documentation to suggest that the Egyptians before the Hyksos would be the ones that held the knowledge, the power, became the Greeks, and became the Europeans. Okay? And perhaps, the Scythians when they were white, which again you could say have the origins in the Aryans, who are said to have gone into India, into Persia or Iran and such. So it's like they're chasing the white honkies, and each time they take it over, they take on what's there and claim it as their own. Just like the Moors did in Spain, in my opinion. They invaded the civilization, and to history now everybody thinks it was theirs. You know what I'm saying? Just like Chicago, for instance. All the architecture was there already. It wasn't called Chicago. They founded Chicago in that architecture. Can you see what I'm saying here? It's a game that they've always played. They invade, absorb, and then write as though it was their own. That's the glory of the victors. Always. You know what I mean? His story in the main, as the patriarchal system invaded and took over the matriarch system. Not that I'm suggesting one's better than the other. I don't know, I can't remember what it was like in matriarchal system, because I'm only 22. Where are we? Where have gone now? Happy company, yeah. Lorraine says, hi everyone, sorry I'm late, hope everyone is well. We're into March. All right, I'm cancelling that. It's a fine, Lorraine, you're fine. We're not doing any of that malarkey. We might turn out like Doge if we carry on like that. So no, all bets are off. You can be late if you want. There's no sanctions whatsoever. Evening, Lorraine. Nouveau Laredo sound like a two-tier system. The real one, absolutely. I'm with you there. Nouveau says judged by AI. That's crazy. Well, yeah. I mean, Doge, if you turn it to the ways, e-God, isn't it? Well, e-commerce, everything, it references the internet, doesn't it? And they've got all, they want you to do everything now online. They don't want you to use it post. They want you to use fill the forms in online, do this online, do everything online. Yeah, absolutely, Nouveau. An evening to you. Jerry says, Net in Yahoo said they were the 6i. That's very true, actually, yeah. Yeah, well, they always have been. They've been the centre. I mean, what they've done with the tech, how they've got away with that is just because population are fast asleep, unfortunately. That's the sad thing. Jerry says, looks like a lion. Nouveau, finger up, telescope, eyes looking up. Yes, it does a bit, yeah. Lorraine, Doge, e-God, interesting, Sean, yep. Jerry, in the trust in US score. Yeah. In US, yeah. Nouveau, yeah. Jerry says, we had a Doge here in Ireland. It cost 25,000. Setup was so successful at tracking the money. Government spent 1 million to shut it down. I mean, you guys got shafted when they kept making you re-vote on the Lisbon Treaty, you remember? It's just so ridiculous how they managed to get that. Lorraine says, Jerry, why does that not surprise us that it was so successful they shut it down? Treen, hiya Sean, hi folks, sorry I missed most of this, buffering on TV as well. Hiya Treen. Notice unalienable entitlement order. Should study the creepy Stargate. Okay, who's? You mean that show or should study the creepy Stargate? Can you enlighten me on that? What do you mean? The book, the film, this programme, or something else? Nouveau says Phoenician and Venetian, yeah. Almost phonetically the same. Heavy info, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. And if you get into Philistia, which is to the east of what was Judea, they were Phoenicians. And then when you get into a lot of Templar stuff, a lot of the places that they held dear were of Phoenician origin. So yeah, absolutely. I'm not going away from that. It's too Venetian. It's too obvious, isn't it, for it not to be. And the fact that the Phoenicians were the seafarers, they were in every port around the world, so they would have been connected to all the ports in that Asia, mid Asia, all the ports in China, all around the world. They had the ability to influence everybody. They were the guys that could pick up the intel from around the world, and because their empire, as it were, was on the sea, nobody could see it, could they? They couldn't see it. They had all the treasure islands where they kept the stuff. You couldn't see the empire of the Phoenicians. And then you've got all the sea connotations with today's difference in law. It makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. Venetian, yeah. Absolutely, Nouveau. Tree says, I'll have to watch this from the start tomorrow. It's important info. Nowhere else you'll find such. Makes me sick to my stomach, though, as people have no bloody clue what's planned, and they haven't. And it mean it's because they don't want to, Tree. They don't look. Notice says, unalienable entitlement order, they worship Saturn. It's Saturn, black cube. Yeah. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. So Stargate, I don't know who they are. If you do have a link, you can't put links up, can you? But you can give it up a title if it's a website or whatever. I'd be interested to look at that. Thanks, Notice. Lorraine says, right, she's saying how to train. Yes, Venetian is the Phoenicians, yeah, that's how they do the wordplay, yeah. Davina! Hello, Davina! Sean in the mix. He's in the mix. Lovely Chris White shirt as usual, on fleek. Well, thank you, dear. I've been looking for others, but they've not got net in posh shop that I go in. Anything new? They've got some nice stuff in, but it's just not for me. So I'm looking. I'm glad you like it still. Davina, I generate you ball of sense. Got a lot of emojis going on there, Joe. Emojis everywhere. Oh, go on then. Is that Boyeen a cube hat wearer? Well, most of them are, these rabbis, yeah, when they're doing a certain gig. Where are we? Gary says, Abad Lubavitch, nut jobs. I got them off you today, Gary, them two dossier, and I thought, excellent timing, my good man. So thanks for that. I think you put them up on Facebook, didn't you? It's great how it just, these live streams sometimes just pull together out of nowhere. It's like I was a bit worried this week, thinking I haven't done nothing, I haven't even got any ideas. And then today, it just pop, before you know it. We have one! Hey! So, nice one, Gaz, for that, me old China. Is that a Buddhist? Well, he pretends to be. Abad Lubavitch, nut jobs, the synagogue of Satan. Yes. I mean, they are fruit bats when you listen to the... I mean, I've listened to so many of their lectures. I've read so many of their... It's ridiculous that people actually do believe it. There are some weird people on this planet. Of that, I've no doubt. Where are we? New Lord Davina, everyone, thoughts and prayers. Lorraine, so please you have a ticket for sheep farm in July. Oh, you've got one, Trine, good, nice one. Where are we? I'm in bed listening to Sean doing my bedtime story. Is it your bedtime story, darling? Not asking you, you're naked. Always keeps me awake watching Sean's show as my brain goes into overdrive. Good stuff. Yeah, this is exactly. So, Davina, what did the Scythians look like, Sean? Well, in the main, you could say they were gingers. And a lot of them used to wear the, what they call it, that funny hat, like noddy hat. Yeah, what's it called? Oh, bloody hell. I can't think of its name now. Yeah, in the main, they look like ginger. And they certainly were of Mongol features, although it were a big, Scythian were a big term, Saka were also a big term to incorporate many different tribes, but in the main, they do seem to come across as white gingers, what we'd call Celts today. Trine says, do you think they will be successful in getting this Noachide through? Well, if you go with the prophecy side, they do, and they get it together for 7.5 years and it collapses. And that's when the real fun begins. No, I don't think they will. I have to keep that in mind. I don't believe it's going to happen everywhere, in truth. And I think when it's going on in each country, it's going to be that obscene when they start killing people that the countries that haven't had it installed are just going to bolster together and make sure it doesn't get any further. So that's sort of how I see it panning. Now, the fact that they've got the broom everywhere, or Islam, that's a problem for us. If the Muslims are going to follow through and act exactly how this priesthood wants them to, and they're getting the Petsmean prizes, so I'm not seeing, and the moderates, a lot of them have been knocked off because of this book script. I don't know, it's going to be interesting, let's say. But no, I don't believe they're going to get it on a global scale. Because as soon as they get it in and start activating this killing, who in the fucking right mind is going to go with that? However, they're going to play clever and they're going to make it, the Muslims do it as a front scapegoat, like they do. Everything has a scapegoat. So if the Muslims are going to be stupid enough to go with that, then China are there to wipe them off the face of the earth. Because they've already, I mean, and it would be, you couldn't, if you're going to start doing that, thinking it's God said, You are mentally fucking ill. I don't care who you are. You're mentally fucking ill and retarded. If you think that's sanctioned by anything other than your own fucking dark art. And if that kicks off, it is a mental illness. As simple as that, isn't it? And that would be how we all have to see it. And deal with it accordingly. You know, it's like... I mean, my hope is that they won't. That the ones in the West have enough sense to not. But it's have they been overpowered by these massive influx of fucking subcultures in this last 10 years, especially since the book script. So I don't know. But I feel no, they won't. They're not going to get it. They're not going to get it, and I think we might be surprised what happens here. If, and this is a fucking big if the white males get a grip. Which means if dads start to get a grip of their fucking wayward sons, if dads stop fucking hating mother because they fell out years ago and realise it's more important that you get back that relationship with your son, if Generation X stop fucking giving it like, we don't give a fuck, we're not getting into it, it's not our business. If Gen X get a grip, get off the fat fucking asses and stop acting like wet wankers, because that's what you are, wet wankers. You weren't wet wankers in the 80s, but obviously you were just physically acting out, you were really still thick. I'm ashamed of my generation when I consider what they were, what we were like when we grew up. Ashamed of you. You fuck all to you. You've become baby boomers, for fuck's sake. So, I don't know. My heart still sees that this country is going to surprise everybody. How that's going to pan out, I don't know. But it would take white males to get a grip, and it would take the Muslim males to see the game. Outside of this fanaticism that's been shoved in through drugs, gangsterism and all that shit. And the imams that are pumping them up with bollocks. Because, of course, the mosques are run by businessmen, they're just fucking banks. And the banks just want idiots in to teach and program the kids to keep giving them the money through the extortion. So we'll have to wait and see. We have to wait and see, I don't know. Where are we? So no, in answer to that train. There's different tribes, white, Sean. Yeah, there is, and that's another thing. We are very tribal. We especially were in the 70s. I mean, think about it, my generation. When we was growing up, if you went up to somebody else's street, there were a fucking gang there waiting for you. It were like fucking real-time Warriors. You remember that film, Warriors? That's what it was fucking like in the 70s, as a kid. You went off your territory, there were a fucking gang there running that territory. And that were everywhere. And what were the biggest thing we used to come across? Because what did we used to get beat the shit out of with? Fucking belts, didn't we? And a big part of them days, it were, how big's your belt? And you'd have to show them your fucking belt. You remember? Now, I used to wear a big studded belt from an early age. Because I used to go to work early on, I always had money. And I'd go, and they'd go, oh, theirs were only thin. And that's because the majority of kids were getting kicked the fuck out of with the belt buckle. Poof. You remember, them baby boomers were the most violent wankers because they couldn't be asked to deal with us. They just wanted to get pissed. You know what I mean? And watch the tittle-tattle and go to the garage to get the porn mags out. They didn't give a fuck about Generation X, and we did bring ourselves up. So what the fuck's happened to you, you pussies? Get a fucking grip. Sorry about effing and jeffing, but I'm a bit excited there. You're right, different tribes, white. Yeah, absolutely. I would book your hotel now to blah, 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 blah. My mum has Greek foot shape. All right, with big toe out. Yeah, my oldest daughter has. No doggies. No keys. A friend of mine may look at blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure, it's so hidden people think I'm talking shout. I tell yeah, well, just be careful what you tell, because most people, I think, how are you doing in July, Sean? Are you going in July, Sean? I have no idea. I just know it's booked. I have absolutely no idea where I'm going. I don't even know where I'm going. Never mind that. God just amused dealing with that. So I just he'll ring me up and go, right, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, all right, and I'll be off. I haven't got a fucking clue where I'm going. I've only just found out when I'm going to watch Public Image Limited, and that's in July. Can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. Where are we? Ed Freedom. Finally, I found out to see comments. I have to have the Poxy app. Oh, so you can see the crack now, Ed. Well done, that. Good stuff. I see you. I seem to have been watching a few of the old vids, me old China. Good stuff. I never use apps for anything. I can see the chat when I'm on a desktop. I was born red hair, but it fell out and came in blonde, says Tree. Well, I say. When I grew up, when I was a child, my hair was white. White. And it'd blow off it fucking windy with that. White. And I used to hate it. I fucking hated it. But it was white. I think it was some kind of trauma, to be honest. I don't know. But anyway. Where are we there? Good to know, thanks. Using a black screen, don't have PC. Nouveau says YouTube has been really weird since the lead up to the US election. More weirder than it was already. I mean, I had a lot of trouble until they made me take 2 tests to say I wouldn't talk about the book script. Because at first, obviously, I was right into all the science and everything, but they took a lot of videos down. But fair play, they've not struck me or anything. They just took them down to get them out of the way, so that they don't have any problems. And I have to say, since we kept off that, I've had no problems, apart from the fucking censorship, the demonetisation. So somebody up there is saying, fuck him, we don't want him earning fuck all. They didn't like the fact that somebody didn't like the fact that I put my bank details up there. And by the way, chaps, we're halfway there, so thank you very much for your efforts last week. We're halfway to that mic, which is brilliant. But somebody didn't like the fact that we're earning fucking money, I'll tell you that now. Ha ha ha. Fuck them. So then they offered me 3.5 million. But he's still fucking there. Shall we elope? Shall we fuck off to Cambodia and be wealthy? No, I don't fucking think so. Where are we? Yeah. My uncle is ginger and my aunt had red hair too. Very strange how her colour changed from birth. My granddaughter was born with jet black hair and it fell out and became very blonde. Yeah, my daughters started off blonde. Well, one of them went black like her mother. Mother was pitch black. The eldest. Whereas Blondie, middle one, she's still Blondie. One of my sons is like me and the other son's a bit darker, like his mum. I like that though. It's nice to see both sides coming out like that. Because the mother were a beauty, like, you know. She was an absolute stunner. So if you want good-looking kids, you've got to mate with a good-looking woman. And it helps if you're good-looking as well. But if you're ugly twat, you need to be mating with good-looking women if you want to change your bloodline and get some good-looking crackers out. It works. It does work, which is what Abe was telling you all about, weren't it? That's how they got from looking like big-nosed freaks to acceptable in all cultures. Where are we? When Gray says, Jerry. Yeah, I mean, I can see grey in mine sometimes, and my beard's definitely got grey in. Where are we? Fancy that, right? I was bald for 18 months, and my mum stuck a bow on my head with sellotape, so folk knew I was a lass. Fucking hell, tree. Ed says, is it any different from it turning grey over time? But got to put that equation of child vaccinations into the mix. I believe this has a lot to do with the trans generation growing massively. Of course it has, yeah, absolutely. Well, not only the vaccines, the formula that they feed them. The formula that they're feeding them is doing the same. Dawn Browning says, what's a wanker? A wanker? I know what a wanker is, but I'm not sure what a wanker is. Every man and his dog has been a wanker. And anybody that says different is telling fibs. is what I'll say. But wanker, I have no idea what that is done. My granddaughter went bald, just a few bits over the top of her ears. Thankfully, it thickened up and came through blonde, says Lorraine. Ouch, Jerry, mine is almost comb over. Bloody hell, train. Davina says, here Gary, you save on Urgel and brokering, but you still distinguished looking. But Sean's crisp white shirt is extra. Thanks there, Davina. Are you naked in that bed? You're away. I was born in Nairobi, and the maid freaked, put and ran away when she seen red hair calling me the devil's child. Tree, are you the devil's child, you buddy? Oh my God. Well, you were friends with Tony Blair. I'm only joking. Jerry says, like a Ginny Joe Davina. Very true, she buggers off. 100% Sean, I got your details, so I'll bung in some more, brother. Well, thank you, Ed, that's very good of you. We're halfway there, chaps. Halfway there in a tenner, so we're 210 quid. Dad was in the RAF for the Empire. Didn't know any different. Mine was almost white too, says Treen. Don Brennan is laughing her tits off. And Davina says, I am Sean. Shh, Davina, that's put a picture in there now. Oh my God. And with that, you baddens, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Davina, you've got me all excited now. That wanker is coming up now. I'm telling you, I'm joking, of course, I'm being filthy. Right, you baddens. Not a stitch on, oh my God. If only I could see you now. Anyway, I'm going now before I get myself in trouble. Thanks for joining, mods. Thanks for modding. Hope this expanded the gig a bit. You've got a bit more data on King Cyrus. He got snotted by a bird. That's good. He's obviously a pussy, really. Well, guys and chaps and chapesses, next one will be the day before the court case, so... Ooh. Thanks for joining. See you all later. I'm weak, she says. Oh, God. You're freaking terrible, bro. I am a bit naughty. Oh, my God, I'm going now. Come on, get me, bother. Thanks, chaps. See you next week. Till the next time.
electronic engineering,